And we are live. Okay, you guys, I'm so excited for today's Facebook Live. So, uh, normally I don't do this and go live with somebody in terms of like, hey, we got to drop this knowledge. But I recently heard Lewis speak at an event in Salt Lake City a couple weeks ago. And quite frankly, we had a really solid lineup of speakers, and Lewis was my favorite. And he was my favorite because he was real, authentic, and his story and his message was on point. And so I asked him to join me today because Lewis, what you shared at I don't even remember the event was called. And
it was the real estate roadmap.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't remember what it was
It
called.
gives you so many events, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm flying to Built How today.
Yeah.
But what you shared at the real estate roadmap that I thought was like every single person needs to hear this was 2 months ago. You didn't have anything under contract.
Nothing.
Your pipeline, and you guys, Lewis is a top producer. Top producers, my top producer in our market, and you had nothing under contract. And for those of you that are in real estate, you know that's a mind F, like a complete mind F. And you shared that when we'll talk about what you did and how you got into what ended up happening, but you shared you went from nothing under contract that you had 9 transactions or 9 deals in 12 days.
Yeah.
And it was from what you're going to share today. So for anybody who's on here or watching, you have 5 steps of what you did to end up getting those 9 transactions in 12 days. So before we kick off though, Lewis, maybe talk about like what really happened, because the reality of it is we've all been there. We've all been where we're like crushing it. And then all of a sudden it's like womp, womp, womp. And first of all, like what happened to get you there in the first place?
Well, great question. I changed my focus and I started teaching more. I started presenting on stage more. And honestly, I got cocky because it was easy to get business over the last few years, right? I mean, my phone just rang. I would just get deals. I'd do 50 deals a year just from people calling me.
Yeah.
And I got a little cocky. And one reason that I didn't catch it is because at Real Broker, we get revenue share.
Yeah.
And my revenue share has been going up a lot, right? So I'm getting these consistent checks coming in from revenue share. But I sit down and I'm doing my P&L and I go, because numbers don't lie, people do, right? So I'm looking at my numbers. I'm like, I'm down 50%. My income's down 50%. And I've got no deals in the pipeline. This is ridiculous. It almost made me feel like, do I even know how to do real estate? I've been doing it for 18 years. I've got all these awards and accolades. What the freak am I doing?
Okay, I want to say something on that. One is I love the vulnerability of where you're like, well, I really wasn't paying attention to my numbers. I just knew I had money in my bank account until I really looked at it. And then it was like, oh crap.
Yep.
2, it's really easy to mistake being busy with making money. Yes. And so like as agents, what's up, Rob? Nice to see you on here. It's really easy as agents that we get into this like, well, I'm working, but are you doing all the right things to make money? You know? And then the third component, I love that you're just like, hey, I kind of got cocky. I honestly think that is the market. So last week at the All In event, Jimmy Mackin said this, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. He was like, the pandemic made our industry lazy. And it's because we like everybody's just buying houses and like they would literally like just call and be like, hey, can you show me 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street? Oh, here's my non-refundable earnest money. I'll pay cash tomorrow. Yes. I know I'm being extreme, but that's just the reality, right? And I thought it was really interesting. He's like, it took us away from the fundamentals of what actually like having to sell real estate. And I think that's kind of what happened. You're like, hey, well, my phone's been ringing the last 2 years. I just thought I could just show up. And what you're saying is like, no, you really like in today's market have to work.
Yes, you have to work. Yeah. And I had a catalyst as well. My mom got hurt, and I talked a little bit about this, but she fell and broke her leg really bad, and she still can't walk. And she's the main caregiver of my dad who has dementia. And when we took her to the hospital, she has to go into a home. Who's going to take care of my dad? They didn't have insurance, so now I'm writing a check for almost $5,000 a month, plus their rent, plus medical bills, plus all. So besides my income being down, I get just hit with all this burden in a way. My parents aren't burdens. I love them, but you just get hit with a problem.
Yeah.
And that was my catalyst to kind of knock me out of it is, hey, I'm a capable guy. I know I can go get real estate, and maybe I should actually do what I'm teaching to everybody else. Like maybe I should just do it.
Yeah.
And it was fire. I mean, literally, now I have so much business. You'd mentioned 9 deals. Now I have 27 deals in my pipeline. It's ridiculous.
This has been in 2 months, right?
2 months,
like 2 months. Yeah. The reason I wanted you on here is because I want you to share what you're doing. Yeah. But I also wanted you to be on here so you could have this conversation of how quickly things can turn around with intention. Yes. Because a lot of times I think people get mind-effed and then they just stay in that space. And it's like, you don't have to stay in this space. Like you can pull yourself out today if you choose to, right?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what Louis Hamner told me, because I called him and was complaining about my situation. Mm-hmm. And Louis said, man, for a guy that has a great life, you sure complain a lot. I said, well, I think I've earned it. And he's like, all I'm telling you is if you learn this one rule, your whole life's going to change. And I said, what's that? And he said, your problems serve you. Your problems serve you. And I said, wow. Okay. And I told him about a breathwork experience. He goes, when did your life start getting crappy? And I go, honestly, I went to a breathwork that was like an hour and a half long. And I had this epiphany, spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it. The universe told me it was time for me to retire my mom, get her a house. And I proclaimed this to the universe. I proclaimed it to everybody in the room that I was going to do it. And I've been getting the crap beat out of me ever since. I mean, just that's when it all shifted. And he said, of course. And I said, what do you mean, of course? He goes, you're not good enough in business to achieve that goal yet. So let me tell you how the universe works. I said, okay. He goes, let's say you want to bench 500 pounds and you hire a trainer. Are they going to give you less resistance or more resistance? Like more. He's like, that's what the universe is doing. It's giving you problems. Once you learn to overcome these problems, you're going to be able to accelerate your business. So the good news is every problem that comes, there's an opportunity with it. And you've been giving all of your attention to the problem. I want you to, for the next 2 weeks, he said, ironically, the next 2 weeks, I want you to focus on all the potential possibilities, all the opportunity that's coming your way. And I want you to tell yourself every day, I'm a bunch of opportunities coming my way, a bunch of opportunities coming my way. And I start focusing on that. I'm reaching out to people, going back to the basics like we're going to talk about, and deal.
Yeah.
It's not wild, but I found the problems in my business too. I found my bottlenecks and my issues, and it's making me a better realtor. It's making me a better businessman.
Well, what you focus on expands. We all know that, right?
Yep.
And then on top of that, like he's right. Like there's a book called The Big Leap. Kind of boring to read, to be honest with you. But it talks about that, is that like the universe, God, whatever, is going to throw things at you to keep you where you're at. Like you're going to have the little things that test you to push you back down. And it's when you push a little harder to get past that is when that next version of you pops up. And I can tell you this because I'm in a similar situation, but different. Once you make a commitment to like pay for your parents or help them or whatever, there's no going back.
Oh,
like you not be like, oh, well, now I'm going to, thanks, mom, you're out of here. And thanks, dad, like, good luck. Like you're committed. So now you're committed to whatever you're doing for the rest of their lives or your life, right? And you want to be like, you're like, I can do this, but it's also going to take a version of you showing up for that. Right. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So let's dive in, because I want anybody, if you're listening to this, you're in a space that you can take notes if you're an agent, because what he's going to share today is things you have heard before, I promise you, but it's actually just going back and doing them. And it was a good reminder. So the 5 to Thrive. So walk through exactly what you did to get your 9 deals in 12 days, because knowing our price points, that's over 6 figures in 9 days.
Yep.
So it was made 6 figures in 9 days from having nothing in his pipeline and now having 27 people. So what are those 5 things?
Well, before I say that, let me say one quick real thing, or one thing that will change if you're an agent listening right now this one thing will take you from 5 or 6 deals a year to as many deals as you want to do a year. And that is whatever you do today pays you in 3 to 6 months.
90 days.
And if you can have that permanently burned in your brain, you're going to make a lot more money, because the average agent does this. They don't have a deal, so they're calling everybody they know. They look on Zillow, they do a FSBO, they do for sale by owners, they do open houses. They finally get a deal, and then what do? They focus all of their time on the busy work to get the deal done, right? That's what they do. They're writing addendums, they're calling, they're going to the home inspection. What if it falls through? Well, they're praying that the people don't buy a car or do something stupid with their credit or quit their job.
Furniture. Yeah.
Right? And they finally get to closing and they get a $12,000 paycheck and they go out to wherever, some awesome restaurant, and are all excited. And then the next day they go, oh crap, I have nothing. I have no more money coming in. I've got to get back to work. And it's this vicious cycle that I've just seen everyone do forever. So when I was in the fire service, I was working a full-time job doing 40, 45 deals a year. I didn't have time to mess around.
Yeah.
So I just did my most important things to get business every single day, and I made it a game. Yeah. And I heard somebody else do a speech similar to this, and he's way more successful than me. Quantavius from Remax, have you heard of him? I think he's the number 2 agent in all of the U.S., and he's only been in the industry 3 years, and he sold 544 homes.
Wow.
He does the same system as me, but a little bit different.
Okay.
So mine's a combination of his plus Buffini. I've always kind of done the Buffini thing.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, being a firefighter, I'm competitive, and I have to give myself a goal. So the 5 to Thrive is a 5-point system. You have to achieve 5 points every day.
Okay.
5 days a week.
Okay, so 5 points every day, 5 days a week. That's how you're winning.
That's if you can get 5 points every single day.
Okay.
You have a bunch of different things that give you points. This allows for freedom, whether you like to door knock or cold call or whatever else. They're all lead generation activities. Mm-hmm. Because if you can do 5 lead generation activities every single day, you are going to have a closing every single week. That's how it's going to work. You're going to be doing this 5 times. So 25 times a week, you're doing lead generation. You are going to get 1 deal a week. I promise you.
Yep. I love it.
If you don't think that's true, try it. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. Prove them wrong, you guys, because here's the deal. What Lewis said is correct. What you do today affects your pay in 90 days to 6 months. Well, what's 90 days from now?
Christmas.
Yeah. The holidays, right? So it's like, hey, this is what I've been telling my agents. If you want to go on the holidays not stressing about credit cards and paying your bills and it's slow, because it gets quieter at the holidays too with the snow and whatnot, like you do the work now that affects what happens then. And then the same when the Christmas hits, you do the work at Christmas to affect your spring. Like the hard part about this industry and any job, to be honest with you, is like you don't get to take the time off. Like if you do, you end up paying for it, right? Yes. And hence you not having a closing. So 5 to Thrive.
Yep.
5 things, 5 different lead centers. So walk us through step 1.
So the thing I do every single day, no matter what, how I get my first point. And the cool thing about this is you can get your points in a couple hours, or it can take you all day. It depends on what you want to do. Depends on how busy you are with other stuff. But I get my points done fast, so I know I'm done for the day. If I get my 5 points, I don't have to do anything else other than just what comes up. So and there are some 5-point activities we'll hit real quick too. But the number 1 is SOI calls. I have 163 clients that are I say they're A+. They've done a deal with me and they send me referrals. So how do you think I treat those clients? I reach out to them, I talk to them, I give them pop buys, I build our relationship and continue, because those are my golden goose that keeps laying golden eggs. Remember, it's not just your SOI, it's all of your clients' SOI. The difference between me and an average agent is I have clients who go out and get me business. Yep. They literally will be offended if you don't. They're like, no, you have to use Lewis. You got to call Lewis right now. So if you can build that culture, it's huge. So for me, I pick a theme of each month. Why am I going to reach out to everybody? And I call 10 people per day.
Okay.
So, and the important part about this call is you need to add value.
Yes.
I'm not even calling to ask for referrals. I'm calling to add value.
So let's maybe talk about that. What are you doing? What are you saying right now when you're adding value? Because I know everybody's probably different, but give us like an example.
Yeah. I'm going to do a giveaway in September, right?
Okay.
Like a cool barbecue. So I'm going to give that away.
Okay.
And I'm calling to make sure everyone gets entered in on my private Facebook page for the giveaway.
Okay, cool. Easy.
Simple, right?
Hey, we're doing a giveaway. I want to make sure you're registered.
Or your next client appreciation event. Or make sure they're prepared for winter. Or make sure, do they have any questions about getting their gutters cleaned out? There's so many different things you can call for. And if it is just to give them an update, like the reason I got all the deals is I called and just asked a question. I said, I have a question for you. Do you think I still do real estate? Because I got some feedback that some of my clients didn't think I did real estate. They thought I was a coach, just a coach. And I said, can I ask you a serious question? They said, yeah. And I said, do you think I still do real estate? And I was surprised by the answers. A lot of them were like, no, aren't you like a coach now? Or aren't you the broker? Or they were unclear. So I just said, can I explain? And I explained a little bit what was going on. And they said, oh, that's great. My brother's actually thinking about buying, blah, blah, blah. And I start getting these referrals. So I've done this long enough that I was able to just give them an update about me.
And have a relationship with them enough to be like, hey, I have a question. Like, what's your perception of me online?
Yeah. Can you help me out? Yeah. Can you help me out?
Yeah.
It might be that I'm doing a giveaway. I have a bunch of swag. You know, I might give away hats or shirts or whatever and do a reverse pop by. Hey, do you want to swing by my office and grab a hat? Do you want to grab a shirt? That kind of thing. But it almost doesn't matter why you call as long as you're adding value. People worry about it way too much.
So your first one is your SOI. How many of your SOI are you calling every day? You're breaking down that 136 into the whole month so you get through all of them?
Yep.
So
10 per day.
So 10 SOI a day. Okay. Yep. 0.2. So that's 1 point, right?
Yep. 0.2 social media touches.
Okay.
You can start. This is how you grow your SOI, because you might not have any friends. Like when I started out, I didn't have any friends. So if I want more friends,
me neither, Lewis.
If I want more friends, I can reach out in social media. And what do we do there? Add value to their life, right? So 10 touches on social media. If you can't find 10 people bragging about themselves on social media, you got problems, because that's all you see on social media. So I'll jump in and send them a DM. Congratulations on that. I saw that Tom or whatever, graduated or this or that. And I talk to them about their life. I talk to them about what's important to them. And then I'll typically build a send out card. You know what those are? Yep. So if you don't know, go to sendoutcards.com. I think that's what the website is.
Yeah.
And you can just steal their photo from Facebook and make a cool card and send it to them and say, congratulations on Timmy winning the gold medal, whatever, and send it to them, and they love it. It's something personal. It's something cool, right? And speaking of that, I do 2 of those a day. So I either do a handwritten thank you card, or I will do a pop by, or I will do a note that I sent. I said pop by because in the notes, a lot of times I can include a little gift.
Yeah.
Something cool,
Yep. So you do
phone calls, social media.
How many social medias?
At least 10.
So at least 10 social media, and it's all about congratulating them.
Yep. Just starting a conversation. Yeah. It might be even checking in on them. It might not be congratulating. It might be like, hey, is everything okay? Yeah. How are you doing? Do you need help with that? Just starting a conversation.
Yep. Third one,
social media post. I make sure that everyone knows I'm doing real estate.
Yeah.
That I'm in the space. And I try and make it educational or entertaining or encouraging.
Yes. Not a just listed, just sold, right?
Yeah, those don't count for me. It's like, hey,
those are boring AF. If you're a realtor listening to this, I think Giselle said this on our All In or whatever, I don't remember. But basically, stop doing the just listed, just sold, because it's boring.
It's boring, yeah.
Show them what real life behind the scenes of a cool house, or even crappy, or how you're providing value. Just stop with the templated Canva posts. Basically.
Oh yeah. Go actually show a house and just do a couple videos of you walking through the house, the cool pool in the backyard, whatever. Yeah. Just actually post doing social, doing something like that. Yeah. For me, so it's easy. I go 10 SOI calls, 10 social media posts, or 10 touches, then a social media post. I do some handwritten cards, and I work out.
So the handwritten cards we talked about, you do at least 2 of those, right?
Mm-hmm. At least 2. Yep.
So basically you're doing, and then you work out, because your energy how you show up, your life force is one of the key components to you succeeding.
Yes.
Like, it's for everybody. I
Yep.
was listening to Justin Nelson speak this morning on our Rocket Fuel or weekly Rocket Fuel coaching calls. And he ended it with that too. He's like, your life force, how you show up, your energy, what you're putting in your body, like working out, like is absolutely crucial. Because if you don't have that, the energy or the health, then none of the rest of this matters.
None of it. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. That for me, that's actually my number one. I work out first, and
Yeah.
then I get my energy up, and then I do this other stuff. And there's a bunch more. There's, to give you an idea, let's say you don't like any of that. Well, you can do 10 cold calls. You can call 10 FISBOs. You could do 2 pop buys, which do you guys know what pop buys are? Little gifts, just pop by and give them a little gift.
Yeah.
Here's what I do when I do a pop buy. I will swing by a couple of my clients' house, drop a pop by, and then I'll bring 10 cards with me, and I'll knock on 10 doors of their neighbors, and I'll just say, hey, I'm Lewis. I sold the Martin's house. I'm just making friends with the neighbors. Here's a card. I don't ask them for anything. I say, if you ever need questions answered about real estate or want to know what your house is worth, let me know.
I love it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just introducing myself because they'll normally call my client. Like, hey, your realtor dropped by. Oh, Lewis, I love him. He's awesome. He's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So simple. That's a way to get another point, right? And I also count showing homes. If you're out showing houses, each client is 1 point because that can take a bunch of time, So I don't, not one house per client. It's one client gets 1 point.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say though, so you get 5 points in a day, working out's one of them. So then you have these other 4.
Yep.
Lewis, I'm hearing you say though, that you're pretty much having at least 20 conversations a day.
Absolutely. Isn't that funny?
Isn't that funny? Like, and I love that you're breaking it down so simple of like, here's a point system, 1 point, and you have to have 5. And so mix it up. And I think this is so crucial. And at the end of the day, you're going back to the foundation of real estate, which is that we're a contact sport, however you choose to look at it. And so I also appreciate the fact that you're like, maybe it's your SOI, maybe it's your past clients, maybe it's social media, maybe it's door knocking around the house you just sold, but you've got to go in and get those conversations.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Now we have some 5-point activities I could go over real quick if you like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is how you win the whole day because sometimes you have a crazy day and you don't have time to do all this.
Yep.
If you get a buyer or a seller signed, that's a 5 points.
It's a 5-point day.
You can take the day off. You signed a buyer broker agreement, a listing agreement, boom, you're done as far as lead generation goes.
Well, and I kind of like that too, in terms of like, it gives you like, as long as you really are going to follow that, like I get 5 points a day, period.
No matter what, as long as you follow it.
Then it gives you that grace of like, I got my client signed today. Cool. I have time to go do other things, or I don't have to prospect as heavy, but you're still intentional of like, I got to get my 25 points in my week. Right.
Yep.
Like this, I think that's so great. Cause a lot of times like people get so caught up in the activities that I think sometimes they burn themselves out too.
They do. Right? That's what I've said. If you try and get 50 points a day, you're going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
You're going to be, sometimes you need to just take the day off and go golfing and hang out with your buddies. That's totally okay. It's totally okay. One of my other favorite ones is, so on the 5-point activities, I have buyer broker signed, listing contract signed, going under contract on a rep C, or doing a one-to-many event. So one-to-many is like my mastermind I teach on Wednesdays. That's a 5-point day for me. I'm talking to 30, 40 people at once. That's 30 or 40 conversations, right? Yeah. And it takes time to prepare that. And then you're adding value and you're talking, whether that's to agents or whether that's to buyers and sellers. That's a 5-point day for me. Another one is client appreciation parties. That's a big day. You're talking to a couple hundred people. That's a 5-point day for sure. Open houses, if you do it right, if you get to the open house either the day before or the morning of and hand out a bunch of flyers and talk to people. And I got 4 deals from an open house that was in the $1 million price point range. Was that worth my 2 hours of being in an open house? For sure. Just by having conversations with people walking through the house, inviting all the neighbors, doing the circle prospecting. And here's something that every agent could do right now and make a big difference. They could put together in the next couple of weeks a first-time home buyer training or a turn your house into an investment training and invite people to it.
Yep.
And now you have people showing up, whether it's on Zoom or in person at your office. Whether one person shows up or 50, I'm doing it. If no one shows up, I'm going to practice it. But if one person shows up, you've got one buyer, one seller, someone you're going to add value to their life, and you're going to start getting deals. If you can think of how you can give back first and better your community of clients, you're going to make more money. Like I get a mantra every single day, I deserve to be rich because I add value to other people's lives. And that's true. You've got to add value.
Yeah, I love that. And I love too that you're setting proper expectations, like, hey, go do a buyer workshop or a seller workshop. And if one person shows up, one person shows up. Like the fact, I think a lot of times people aren't consistent because they expect like massive results out of the gate, and anything worth having in life takes time, right?
Yeah.
I remember I did a seller workshop during the pandemic, like in 2020, we did virtual, like, here's what you need to know, all those things. I mean, we did direct mail, we had like videos, paid ads. And I think I had maybe like 6 or 7 people show up,
Yep.
And it was just like, it was the consistency that ended up paying off on that. Right.
What's more important is that people see you do it. Let's say you put it on social media, you're going to do it in 2 weeks. And then you pay a videographer, your friend comes and records you.
Totally.
Just post the video or at least some clips of it, and then do it again next month and again next month, and offset the two, do 2 a month, one of each, whether it's the first time home buyer or turning your house into an investment. And maybe after 2 or 3 months, you have clients going, hey, I'm going to actually go to that. Don't you teach that thing every month? Can I come to it this month? Or, hey, can you just teach me personally? Could I come to your house, your office and sit down? Can you teach me how to turn my house into an investment? Sure. Mm-hmm. That's what you want. That's the whole point, is getting people to reach out to you as the expert.
Yeah. I think consistency, and what I'm hearing you say, the activities, and some days you're going to have an off day, but you still get those 5 points. And when I say an off day, meaning like heavy workload to prepare. And so that's where you can get some of those 5-point days.
I will say that to get those first 2 weeks to get all those deals, I went on overtime. Mm-hmm. I was trying to get 20 points a day. I was working my butt off because I didn't have busy work to do.
Yeah.
So I just went hard in the paint. It's okay if sometimes you get 20 points a day. It's okay.
Yes. That, I love that you're saying that. Like, so we're doing something called Monday Mayhem, and we're going to do it for a month straight. We're doing every Monday. It is prospecting from 8 to 5 all day long.
I love it.
And it's just because it's like, hey, if you guys can, for these 4 Mondays of this month, do what others aren't willing to do, you can have a life that others aren't going to have.
Yes.
And that comes from being like, you're going to go extra, not, hey, I'm just going to do a couple hours. So my point of sharing this with you is, sometimes it takes to get you that foundation. It's not sometimes, it takes. So I'm not even going to say sometimes. For you to get that foundation of what you want, it takes the extra. Yes. For you to keep it, it takes the consistency.
I was just about to say something similar, that I've been at this 18 years, and I had to go for 16-hour days for a few weeks to get all my deals.
Yeah.
But if I consistently do what I'm saying, I always have business. If you're brand new and don't know anyone and you don't have any busy work, I would do more than this.
Yeah. Oh, well, and even at that, like, even on the next level. So, I mean, same thing, Lewis. I remember when I started, like, it was, I worked all the time. And I remember getting my first BlackBerry to, like, because I was like, I need to get in the car and still send these emails. I mean, I worked all the time, weekends, nights, like, it took what it took. Right.
Yeah.
And even now, like, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that are happening. I'm working all the time. And I don't say that from a negative. I say it from a place of, like, I think people watch social media or they watch certain things and are like, oh, I want that life. Well, they're not seeing, like, yeah. And I'm like, both of us, how you're like, hey, I've got 9 transactions in 12 days, but I worked like a crazy person to get it. Right. And so you just have to work to, like, make that happen. And sometimes, like, somebody said something to me the other day, and I was like, this is why my female group is called the Harmony Tribe, is because I'm like, there really isn't balance in life. Like, there's like a really misconstrued perception. Like, for me, it's harmony. Like, there's harmony of everything is flowing. And there might be times where things are off, but one part's like really heavy and the other part's not. But it's also just being in that, like, I know this is the part of where life is at. Right.
Yeah. Someone told me if there's balance in life, you're standing still.
Yeah.
It's agility. You got to be able to juke and move and run, and sometimes run up the mountain and sometimes slow down and lay down, but it's agility. It's being able to move fast. And there's sometimes I'm spending a whole week with my family and I'm not on the phone with anybody.
Yep.
I'm just super present. And then there's times I work 100 hours in a week.
Yep.
I'm default aggressive, default
Yep.
hardworking. So I have to actually like schedule in time for my family and things that I love and the gym. And that's why I made the gym a point, because you can get caught in the trap of feeling guilty going to the gym and that it's not an activity that pays you, but it absolutely does. And then you have to have the relationships with your family as well. So I put that in there as I need to get, if I don't get these 5 points done, I'm not hanging out with my family tonight. I want to hang out with my family. So I'm going to bust these out and get, be able to actually relax and be present with my family.
It's interesting, Lewis, because I've been watching like successful people and like what they do and whatnot. I don't know somebody who's really highly successful that's not in shape.
I don't know.
I can't picture anybody who is highly successful that is not physically taking care of themselves. Now, I'm not saying it's always been the case, right? Like, some CEOs that like, as they got more and more successful, their health became more and more of a thing. But I just personally cannot picture anybody that I'm like, oh yeah, you're winning at life and your health sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are. I'm just saying.
I'm sure. Well, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? How many times have we heard that? And it is so true. It 100%. The way you take care of your body is also how you take care of your mind, which affects your performance, which affects everything. I mean, I don't know any other way. That's how I have to be.
Yep. I love it. Well, I wanted to share with everybody on the big world of Facebook what you're doing, because I was like, Lewis, this is cool. You're also really relatable in terms of like, you're like, hey, like I'm selling real estate. Like that's how I make my income. As much as we love like all the stuff we're doing at Real, and you're doing a phenomenal job at it, at the end of the day, like our real estate businesses is how we live. And it's the same with me. People are constantly asking me like, no, my bread and butter, like Spring Benson, like my foundation of everything is the Utah life. Like that is it. And it's the same with you, is like selling homes. And then our strategic partnerships and our coaching and our ancillaries are stacked on top of that, right? But if that foundation business,
each one of them,
if that foundation business isn't good, then the rest of them, it's a hot mess. And so I love that you're like, oh shit, my foundation, because every person, including us, like we've had a really phenomenal year, and we also have had some off months too. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like last month was an off month for us. I think it was August. I think my team crushed it the month before. And it's easy when you do really well that the next month they go into like
everyone relaxes a little bit
together. Yeah. And so I just loved your authenticity of where you're like, hey, this is what's up, and this is exactly what I did to get past it, and that you gamified it, that it wasn't like go have 20 conversations a day, because we all know that.
Yeah.
Right. But you're like 10 points for this, 10 points for this, 10 points, And
if you don't get them, you're working till midnight. So just get them done so you can enjoy when you have a 5-point day.
Yeah.
And if you just get your 5 points per day, you don't have the slumps of, I made 50 grand last month, so I don't have to do anything this month.
Yeah.
No, get your 5 points, and then you'll just consistently make 50, 60 grand a month. It'll be fine. You'll just do it, and you can allow yourself to actually start hiring the right positions and leveraging out the busy work. But when you're up like this and down like this, you don't want to hire anybody. You're freaked out because you're constantly having PTSD that you're not going to have a deal.
Yep. So true. So true. All right, Lewis, how do people find you?
You can go to my Instagram, which is Lewis W. Weaver.
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way. Send me a DM.
Yeah. Connect with Lewis, you guys. He's the real deal. He's out of Utah. If you're in northern Utah and you want to connect in person, Lewis does a mastermind. Is it every week?
It's the first 3 Wednesdays of every month.
Okay.
And we teach on mindset, the first one. The second one's on strategies that are actually working in our market. And we'll bring speakers in a lot of times. And then the third one is a true mastermind where we help solve each other's problems.
I love that so much. Yeah.
It's at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays.
Yeah. So if you guys are interested, if you're in Northern Utah and you want to go to something in person, because community is just a big component of it.
It's huge.
Hit up Lewis if you're looking for something that's online that is similar. We do Mondays, we do rocket fuel. We kicked it off with Justin today. He was fire. And then Thursdays is our day for our mastermind. Same thing each week.
That's perfect.
Each week is different levels of production that we're hitting on and whatnot. So hit me up, you guys, if you're interested, if you need anything. They're all free. It's just value add back to our community. We have thousands of agents that we're in business and partnerships with across the United States. And so it's just a great way for us to stay connected and provide value back and forth to each other. So with that being said, I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you.
I owe you a text message, so I'll shoot you a text after this and let's connect.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
You said this was amazing. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad.
Okay, talk to you later.
Yeah.
Nice.